So good
Good.
morning, Oleg. And
Good.
first came across your work in reading the Vision Code. And I remember connecting with you on LinkedIn and bantering back and forth. And I said, hey, you available for a chat? And we hopped online and had a chat about 18 months ago. So thank you so much. I feel honored that you've agreed to come on the podcast Handshake. So
Thank
I
you.
suppose by way of introduction and shaking hands with the audience, that I'm appealing out there to, I will give a little resume for you, and I'm sure it doesn't even hit on half it. You've been named the Da Vinci Visionary of Leadership by many leading authorities of our time, and hence I feel honoured to have you with me this morning. You're the author of the Vision Code, among many other books. You're considered number one in the world in the field of vision and visionary leadership. You've been named among the top 8 global experts in leadership and shortlisted for the Distinguished Award of Leadership by Thinkers 50. Now it gets better. You're listed on Global Guru's Top 30 in Leadership, and you are the number one global leading coach, having won the award, the Marshall Goldsmith Thinkers 50 Award. And you've been named alongside people like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Oprah herself as one of the global 100 inspirational leaders. Wow. Now, do you want to add to that, Oleg, in any way?
Every achievement is actually a responsibility
Right.
because it's always gets people expectations high and high and high, and I must be in line in it. Well, so
So
every
it's a lot.
accolade is a weight.
It's a lot to live up to, of course, and it's lovely to hear that you take it so seriously, and that it bespeaks you as the human in the middle of it all. I noted when I was reading your book and the Vision Code, strong vision makes people family members, not strangers. Was one line that stuck with me: family members, not strangers. The handshake symbolizes human connection. How do you see the role of vision and leadership in fostering deeper connections, both in business and at an individual level?
Well, let's start from slightly different end
Perspective.
of this story.
Okay.
What would be the difference in your view between being married and having a happy family? What do you think?
Connection,
No,
the
no,
ability.
no, uh, no. Being married, it is status. It's a point.
All
We're
right.
not connecting at a point, right?
Mm-hmm.
But happy family is always a space where we are connected. And this is where your approach is coming full force ahead, because we are connected within that space of value which we are creating for each other. Therefore, we are connected. We're not fighting for that point. We are married together, therefore do this or do that. Therefore, it's a space where we are connected. We share the values, we create value together, and so forth. It's a very different approach.
Mm-hmm.
Another point of view, an old man, it's like it's a real story. And an old wise man been asked why people are shouting at each other even when they're standing very close to each other.
Close.
And he said, it's very simple. Their hearts are too far from each other. So at that moment, when we are shouting at each other, when we are arguing and so forth, our hearts are like very distant, and we are not prepared at that moment for a handshake.
Yeah, we're
We
trying
are
to get.
prepared for a fight,
Sure.
but surely not about to hug each other or for a handshake.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a very different, again, view. We must, for a really true handshake, our hearts, our minds must be really close to each other. We must be connected. And it's not about arguing what we did wrong in the past. It's always
Being present in the moment.
even no, it's more about what we will create in the future that would get us closer. Because the present only reflects the state where we are. Are we good? Are we not good? It's just like, we could evaluate. To get closer, we must do something tomorrow which would get us even like tighter together.
But there must be a resonance of values and of desire, yeah?
There's a bit of desire. I would be saying aspirations, because desire reflects what we want to have at any cost. To be a millionaire, to be a billionaire, we will kill for it, just like, because it's all about feeling own ego. This famous cartoon Ice Age, when the squirrel is chasing that acorn and it's just prepared to ruin the world. That is desire,
Yes.
Aspiration is what we want to create.
So it's looking outward together.
Exactly. For instance, if you want to have a happy family, it's like with your fiancé or your spouse, you're saying, hey, we want to create a happy family. We're co-creating that space. We're not chasing own ego. I'm just married, or I'm married to the most beautiful woman. No, what you do to make that woman the happiest woman in the world. That's a very different story.
I often refer, when I'm giving training or talks in workplaces, that your work colleagues become your daytime family. And it's there's a big emphasis in my work on co-creating a great place to work.
Exactly. Because you see, actually, none of us been trained to be well with others, which has been said by our parents, like, you must be nice, you must be decent, something like that. That's okay. Those so-called social norms. But when we are really collaborating, really co-creating something with people, we're talking about social codes. Because that's something really we are sharing together. We're in control of own behavior and behavior of others. It's actually how we contribute to each other.
That takes me to my next question, which is, how does a visionary leader cultivate an authentic connection with their team while staying focused on the long-term strategic goals?
You're right. There is a yes, I don't know, 100%, 1000%, you're right. Because everything we do is about people. And without people, your vision, your strategy is just a pile of paper. More or less, you keep writing different reports or protocols or whatever, is just a paper, because it's all about people. In this sense, if we're talking about leaders who are looking for some kind of long-term goals, it all comes to a very interesting notion. Modern organizations have a difficulty. They train people to improve. And therefore, you could expect improvement by end of the year by like 3% or 5%, way improved. It's more or less, it's training people to produce more sweat. Because again, the markets are growing. Therefore, you don't need to put much effort to increase your turnover. If market grown by 10%, a market, right? And your turnover is grown by 5%, you say, yeah, we improved. No, you just like some way in line, even you're losing. But what's important, a leader is a breeder of a giants of tomorrow. You must train your people to think into the future, to see that future. You should give them a vision, which they would be really, really
empower them. Yeah.
Yes. And when people think into the future, they're coming with solutions for the future today. And therefore, they're making a leap. Therefore, I'm not betting on improvement. Improvement is just, as I said, it's all about doing a bit better, a bit nicer, but still somewhere in a lower league. But if you want to be great for tomorrow, you must make people living from now on, and that is a very different story that empowers people greatly. There is a thing, we're all ideal for today, we're all perfect for today, but how good we are for tomorrow, that's a big question. You can't be great for tomorrow if by improving. You must leap into that future. And therefore, the leader's role is to help people to be those, to grow them for that future.
So there's a whole notion of hope and promise that imbues us with the energy to move forward.
Yes. And you must train people, help them to learn about everything, and help them to sink into the future.
Sure.
We all have a bit of a difficulty, which I call the mind lock, because when we're traveling somewhere far, we're facing a jet lag, but it's quickly recovered, it's okay. But when we are talking about the future, it's about our thoughts being in the future. But in most cases, we're thinking a lot about the past, a little bit about the present, and very little or even no thoughts at all about the future. If I'm a leader, I must help people to think and being focused on the future, because nothing in the past already is gone.
And in this world, in today's world, with the rate of change and uncertainty, etc., that's a great skill to have for any leader to be able to.
That is one of the key skills, because if you can't think into the future, you always will be a hostage of the future,
of course,
or a victim of it.
Yeah. And the word strategic foresight seems to have crept into dialogue recently, and it's to become master of that strategic foresight and to bring your team with you in the process and to include them. Inclusion and asking people for their opinion, getting buy-in. You cannot achieve it without doing that.
Good point. Very good point.
Yeah.
And I will second your point in a simple way. Teresa, why old people becoming grumpy? Because they're not fit into reality. And therefore they're always complaining that before was better, and they're talking to their children and saying, yeah, at those times we were better. They're becoming grumpy and they're complaining because they're not in line with reality.
I have a real
even
interest.
more afraid of tomorrow because
Yes.
they wouldn't correlate with it at all.
I have a real interest in intergenerational learning as an untapped treasure. And I do believe that our older people, it may stop them or delay their grumpiness if they remain connected or involved for longer, or if a society includes them and taps into their expertise and marry it to the present and the future as a solid base. Yeah.
And another thing is very important, just to add to it, would be, you see, many people believe in crossing a finish line. Oh, I bought a house, I have a car, I'm married. Okay, that's a finish line. And they're not learning anymore. Anything, just like they're not interested to learn anything. Just like they're good at watching some kind of a program and saying, oh, that's an interesting fact, but they're not processing those things.
They're existing rather than living.
Exactly. But if your mindset is really future focused, having an interesting point and that.
Yeah.
substance. You're always learning. You're
Having a
always
passion.
refreshing your mindset. You don't have a time to be grumpy.
Yes, and that appeals to the notion of lifelong learning, and
Yes.
your learning never stops. They say that by 2030, 70% of the workforce are going to comprise Gen Z and the present upcoming Alpha. How do you envisage by way of a shift in this? What do you envisage by way of a shift in the symbolism of the handshake? What challenges are coming down the line to the actual human handshake and face-to-face exchange in the workplace? You know, we're living in an age of AI gathering pace, hybrid work arrangements, etc. What of the loss to the human handshake or the threat to the human handshake, or is our handshake being redefined?
Well, first of all, by 2030, Generation Z would be already replaced in their range by
Yeah.
the next generation,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, at one day, Generation Z will also be pensioners.
Sure. And the baby boomers will have
Yeah, so
this.
therefore it's dynamic, it's never
Sure.
static. There is an interesting observation that every generation insists the next generation to repeat their mistakes. We are very good at insisting Generation Z to repeat our mistakes, and therefore they don't want to, of course, but we're still not happy about them. And of course, they're not happy about us. They were brought up in a very different environment. First of all, for instance, as a bit, I wouldn't say old generation, but a bit old, more mature generation, who were brought up on a different heroes.
Mm-hmm.
For Generation Z, who are the heroes? Who are inspiring models? People like Steve Jobs or
Mm-hmm.
Bill Gates. So they're not interested in other kind of heroes, right? They want to be free by knowing where do they go. They don't want to be led by us, by blind people.
So the world has become a smaller place as well because of their ability to move and this notion of the digital nomad, etc. So they're experiencing a different world in many ways, aren't they?
Exactly. And therefore, another thing, if you would recall, did we talk about inspiration like 30 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
No. The Generation Z, they want to be inspired and they want to be inspirational, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is also a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, they're very good at using those different AI tools. And in their view, physical distance doesn't define the social distance. You could be like thousands of miles away from each
Mm-hmm.
other, but you're socially connected through,
David,
I
yeah.
don't know, different platforms, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Like we connected with you on LinkedIn and we started chatting. So the distance between us, physical distance, doesn't define our connectedness.
Mm-hmm. Very good point. Yeah.
Another thing is they're not afraid of AI. Older generation is afraid of AI because younger generation is very good at it. They're fairly quick at picking up, okay, mindset is more important rather than those buttons. We need to have a vision for what we do, and it's all about to serve people, where older generations think we would lose jobs or something like that. You know, they're not
There's greater agility, isn't there? Greater agility in the generation coming up.
exactly, exactly. Therefore, they, Generation Z knows about the future much more than we are.
Mm, mm.
Therefore, we have a lot to learn from them instead of instructing them how to live.
Yeah. So it's the bidirectional flow of learning between the generations. It has huge potential.
Ah, here, shame on us. My field is vision, and vision is the greatest legacy that he could leave to the next generations. What
Mhm,
kind of vision do we leave as a legacy to Generation Z?
mhm. That's one of the hard questions have discussed in the past in another podcast I ran, asking the hard questions, what legacy are we leaving our young?
Because it's an indicator. We are actually just artifacts for the
Mhm,
next generation.
mhm,
And you see, we will be judged by our children and grandchildren. And
mhm,
if we do something wrong, we can't blame technologies or we can't blame AI.
mhm.
Therefore, probably we see in Generation Z a reflection of our misconduct or short doings.
Mhm. Are we
We,
shortchanged them in many ways?
oh, there are, we still have a chance.
Mhm,
We still have
mhm.
a chance to be better to them.
Yes, absolutely. So, in your book, The Vision Code, you emphasize the importance of a clear and compelling vision. Now, how does the shared vision strengthen relationships within the organization? And what role does human connection play in achieving that vision?
Hmm. Thank you, Teresa. I love the question. Actually, it might sound simple, but it's a deep question. And
Mhm,
first of all, shared vision is a metaphysical resource. It's a resource because this is a resource which is created within a human connection,
mhm,
right? It's not like a piece of paper or email you send out like corporate like emails. No, shared vision is a resource which is created within human interaction. It defines our joint energy, where we put all our energy together, all of us.
yeah.
Of course, it's inspiring and it reflects, it evokes passions within people's hearts and minds. We are creating value together. I have an approach. If we cook together, we eat together. Therefore, if we're creating value together, we're gaining value for ourselves together. And what's important, shared vision is about roles. Which role do I play for organization? Which role
Mhm,
do I play for clients or customers, even if I'm not in direct connection with them? Or what role I'm playing for my superiors or for my subordinates? Shared vision is not about job descriptions because
mhm,
job description is just like putting me into a box.
mhm, mhm.
It restricts. Oh, from
It
9 to 5,
pigeonholes, yeah.
just like behave nicely, goodbye. Your
Mhm,
report must be submitted on time, otherwise you are good.
sure.
But role is much better. It makes me act far beyond
The
my role.
parameters.
Yes.
Yeah. If talk to me a bit about the notion of mission. Very often you would see companies, organizations, education institutions, their stated vision, and then you look at their mission, and one is nearly a mirror of the other. But I like to think of mission as the roadmap to
Oh,
achieving the
no,
vision.
no.
And that roadmap really should be co-authored by all involved.
Okay. Let's make it clear. Let's talk. What's the difference between purpose, vision, goals, and mission?
Okay.
Purpose is a general direction where do we go together, right?
Mm-hmm.
In fact, purpose is just a direction, therefore you can't share it with others. If my purpose is to create grand solutions, right? can I share those purposes with others? No, it's their purpose. They will come up with their own purposes. Goal is a stepstone or a point which we need to achieve on a way to a vision, because vision is a multidimensional space in the future. Put it that way, in corporate terms, vision is a collective understanding how the future would look like and what we will benefit from it.
Excellent. Yeah.
You understand me?
Mm-hmm.
Mission statement is a promise to a society what we will do valuable for that people. So it's more or less, it's just a promise. Again, mission is your promise or my promise. It's not a promise of the next generation or someone buy your company. It's your promise. You're buying a new house and you're promising your neighbors that you always will be nice. Does it work? No.
I know.
And therefore, what we're talking about, I have something I have pinched from my little son. That's a space, right? Vision is always a space. Purpose is the direction in which we will work. Goals is the way how to get into that space. And a mission that people will benefit from it in one way or another. But the actual space is there. And you could leave that space as a legacy. And that's important. Another thing, purpose, because it's yours, it's not a resource. Goals are not a resource. Mission statement is not a resource. Vision as a space is a resource. It's very simple. Vision allows 25, 30 times higher monetary value rather than any great product.
Wow.
Because this is a space.
Mm-hmm.
Space is always easy to capitalize.
Sure.
Can you capitalize a mission statement? No chance. How many couples, when they get married, making those promises to each other, more or less, they're announcing their mission statements. How many of those, or what is the percentage of those couples get divorced?
I know. It's the intervening in the other factors that enter the equation as we move. I know. So would you like to introduce our listeners to the 6 criteria which you hold are central to every great vision, the 5 S's and the EP?
Okay, thank you. And all big vision is all about value. I will put it V for vision equals V for value.
Sure.
Value you create, and therefore it begins with stimulus. Stimulus is what is valuable for people, and how to define how it is valuable. It's measured in a very simple way. How quickly people are responding to this value. If their response is immediate, that means it's really valuable. So keep producing that value. If it's no value, people are just like, yeah, nice, cool. You know, so more or less, they're fairly careful with jumping on board. Immediately comes to a scale. It's a second criterion. You can't scale a price tag, but you could scale a value. Therefore, when you're clear about a value, you could scale it. Here comes a difficulty. Most of organizations are very good at putting a price tag, but they're not good at defining what kind of value they're offering people.
Sure.
I'm selling a car, and what? There are hundreds of dealers around. What's the point? You know, just like.
What distinguishes them? Yeah.
Yeah. It's about spotlight. Who takes or accepts the responsibility for everything you do? You know, when in business, we're not political leaders who are making a lot of promises, but they're never accepting responsibility. Vision is about who takes responsibility. Therefore, it's spotlight. You are under spotlight 24/7. And of course, it's about scanning how it is relevant to people. You're not offering some kind of a illusion. You're offering a solution which is directly relevant to people today and tomorrow. It's very much about simplicity. Even I always say that vision is an elegant thinking about complicated things. If it's simple, it's executable and easy for people to understand. If it's complicated, it wouldn't work.
You lose your audience if it's complicated. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. People will stay away from it. And of course, it's about passion. Passion is that inner human psychological energy that drives people, and it goes viral.
Yes, absolutely. It creates an excitement.
Exactly. And without it, it's not a vision, it's just like some kind of a business idea.
Yes. Yeah.
Because the people's hearts are not there.
So it's the excitement and passion that helps gather it momentum and propel it forward.
Oh, it helps scaling, right?
Sure.
It helps people to be involved. People want to be the heroes of that story. You know, just like real avatars of it.
I know.
That's, if you don't have those 6 in place, it would be difficult.
But your emphasis on simplicity is very important. Simplicity to keep your audience with you and to keep it propelled forward.
Exactly. Because all, the aim of all aircraft designers or engineers is to make the construction simple. Otherwise, it wouldn't fly. It would be too heavy.
True.
It wouldn't take off. Too heavy. Too complicated.
Aerodynamic. Yeah. So, given your extensive experience coaching C-suite executives, how do leaders today balance the need for human connection in the digital age, where remote work and virtual interconnections are the norm?
Right. Dasha, we will have driverless cars, but we will never have a people-less organizations, right? And therefore, you're not a leader of a technology, you're a leader of a people. And it defines immediately with a simple thing, involvement. Involvement, it's not about, I know your name. Like, it's not about just a handshake. It's what's going on behind the handshake. How do I know you? And it's not like tapping on people's weaknesses. No one is perfect.
It's capitalizing on their strengths.
Exactly. Therefore, my involvement would be defined, how do I help my people to grow or to strengthen their strengths? And that would make involvement really valuable, because surely you remember leaders who help you to become better.
Sure.
And that is regardless where you had a chance to talk to this person for a few minutes or hours. You're still grateful for this. That's exactly the same. Involvement, what I'm always saying, good human conversation, 1 minute of human conversation is equal to 1 year of formal conversation. Because you get involved, helping people to grow, and they will come back with enormous result.
Isn't it so important for organizations to do talent audits and to match tasks to talent in order to get heightened engagement and job satisfaction? A lot of organizations don't fully realize the talent they're sitting on among the workers.
I think we're spoiled being, good shoppers.
Right.
We're shopping for food, expecting to have everything ready for us.
Mhm.
But when we talk about people, you can't find people who are exactly perfectly fit for the certain role. You must help people to grow for that role or be
Sure.
great for that role. Therefore, it's not like a packet of milk or, I don't know,
Mhm, mhm.
bacon. No, it's nothing about this. You're saying, I will help you to be better. When I was like CEO and I spent years in the fishing industry, I was always looking at one factor. Is this person prepared to learn? Then good. I will train that person.
So trainability. Yeah, absolutely. Do you
Uh,
think that trainability is shifting? Do you think the young coming up are as trainable, maybe as your generation were?
Vanessa, we are trying to, in all good and bad people are in all generations. The word idiot sounds the same way in all languages. Like in German, in Norwegian, in English, in Russian,
Uh-huh.
so in Turkish, you will say idiot, so you find idiots everywhere, and that's okay. Therefore, I
Yes.
wouldn't be saying, oh, that generation is less prepared. I know many people of my age who are not prepared to learn anything, just like,
They
and they're
know it all.
tending to they have difficulty with their crowns.
I see. Yeah, so well put. So in today's fast-paced world, building trust and connection can be a challenge. What advice would you give leaders trying to maintain a human-centric approach while driving high performance? What advice would you give leaders?
One of the critically important traits for every leader is confidence.
Mhm.
But when we talk about confidence, we hardly realize what confidence is. Confidence is knowing that you would deliver your promise, regardless how challenging it is.
So
And
self-reliance,
mm,
only one aspect of it, you reckon?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And when people see that you are confident in delivering your promises, your credibility goes up and
Shoots
up
up.
and up
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
people trust you. Because if you're not confident in terms of delivering you promise people something, you never deliver it, your credibility and trust to you goes down.
Yeah, the trust is destroyed. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
It's very simple. But if people see, okay, even you're not giving huge promises, but on a
Attainable.
small, you're always consistent. You're always consistent.
So it's consistency and follow through that
Yes,
builds trust. Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Um, your work is globally recognized for visionary leadership.
Mhm.
How does culture influence the ways leaders connect with their teams? And what universal principles of human connection do you see in great leadership across different cultures?
Cool. First of all, when you're creating a vision, you must envision culture
Mhm,
because culture, as I already mentioned, is a resource that we create together.
mhm,
Culture is the energy of people behind our goals, which we
mhm,
want to achieve. Unfortunately, only about 5% of companies in the world are really do something about it. About 95% of companies, they talk. They believe that HR protocols are replacing those approach to growth.
mhm, mhm.
Back to your, so without people, without culture, you're in trouble. There are 5 elements. which I call the PQ, people
Mhm.
quantity, people intelligence.
Mhm.
First one is love. Leadership is a labor of love.
Okay.
Love and care are my tackles to catch people's hearts and minds. And leadership is about expressing your love and care to people in different forms every day.
Mhm.
The second one is maintaining growth, because I'm obliged to grow people for the future, right?
Mhm.
Therefore, I train people not just only for organization, but for them to be good at the job market within 5 or 10 years, they will be grown for this. Therefore, they will do whatever the tasks.
Sure.
The third one is about establishing a common language, what we understand,
Of
because
course.
it's one of the big things in most organizations. The communication is always a challenge.
Mhm.
People at the top talk one language, people at the bottom talk another language, middle level has own language, and they don't hardly understand this. It's more or less, it's like for a young guy being married, trying to find a common language with his mother-in-law. Never easy.
True. Very good analogy. Yeah.
Just like if you
Sure.
want to find that common language, oh man, you will be in trouble. You know? And of course, we already mentioned this. It's about I'm not gathering or getting together colleagues. I'm getting together co-creators. So therefore, people must see the benefits of what they do. You're
Mm.
creating co-ownership. And that's
Mm.
important because you can't, colleagues are colleagues, but if we are co-owners of what we do,
Yes.
that's very important. And of course, it's about inspiration. Why? Because inspiration is the energy itself.
Sure.
Motivation is not shareable. Inspiration is shareable.
Is
If
sure.
it's shareable, it's a resource. It's a resource that gives people a chance to go up and do something beyond of imaginable capacity.
It's fuel. It's fuel to
It
move
is.
forward.
Therefore, I would be tapping on those five: love, growth, common language, co-ownership, and inspiration.
Mm. I think people overlook the power of language in all interactions, in coloring even the whole ethos of a workplace, in,
If you
in
can't
its
communicate,
contribution.
then you can't execute.
Sure, sure.
You wouldn't get it.
Uh-huh. So you've been recognized alongside inspirational people
So,
like Oprah, Elon Musk, and etc. What qualities of human connection do you admire in such leaders? And how do they align with your leadership philosophy? Or do they align?
So I'm not talking in this sense about personal qualities. Yes, we're all different.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a few things you could immediately recognize. Okay, first of all, they have a great clarity about what they do or what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that clarity comes from very clear structured thinking. You see, we are surrounded by chaos, and we're allowing that chaos into our minds. And therefore, we don't have clarity within the minds. You can't, most cases, people have difficulty clearly articulate point by point what they want to do, what they think right now.
Mm.
Even if I would ask like a potential client, what are you thinking right now? Just like people have
Right.
difficulty. They have difficulty to understand. Therefore, when you have a clear structured thinking, you're becoming some kind of a powerhouse. Like
Sure.
those. Another thing, they're all future focused. They're not talking about problems, they're talking about solutions.
Mm.
And those solutions are always future focused. They're not solving problems which were relevant to the past. They're all coming with solutions for a future. Mindset. What they're great at, they're always renewing or refreshing their mindset.
So they're
You know,
growing. There's a growth going on the whole time and an openness to new ideas. Mm.
And therefore, none of them is a king or a queen of drama.
Mhm. So they have their emotions under control.
We chatted with one of my colleagues, and it's just like between us. And this person is like really, really big in the world. And we were laughing. Panic is not our style. Because when you have clarity, you know what to do regardless of challenges.
Sure. So finally, as someone who emphasizes the power of vision, how do you guide leaders in developing visions that resonate emotionally and create lasting connections with both employees and stakeholders?
Co-ownership.
Co-ownership.
Co-ownership. When we put together our hearts and minds, our passions, and we're inspiring each other, we're creating something together. It's the best connection.
So you
The
get
most
buy-in.
meaningful connection.
Sure.
And
Excellent.
in this sense, we know the role of each other.
Mhm.
It's not about status, it's about role.
Mhm. Very good. Very good. So, for our listeners, would you like to leave me with your contact details, or if any organization who listen to this podcast would like to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Oh, you could find me on my website, olegkonovalov.com, or you could connect with me on LinkedIn. And Teresa, you know, I'm responding to the messages myself.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
don't have any robot behind me, you know.
Yes.
I don't need to prove a robot that I'm a human. No. You know, therefore, I focus on the things I do. Vision Leadership Certification Training Program, and this program is number 2 in the world for last few years.
Excellent. Yeah.
You know, I have a program on visionary mindset, on culture, visionary culture, and on leadership communication. And what's important, in line with human connection. Every time we speak to someone, it's all about question what we are gaining in terms of value from that conversation. Is it draining? Is it meaningful? Or is it meaningless? And what kind of value we create for each other? Therefore, I believe that every interaction in corporate world, it's about adding value to each other. Every thing that I do, I promise people a very high return on investment. Otherwise, it's a robbery.
It's pointless. I note also the fisherman's path to leadership. Would you like to say anything? Just synopsize that for the listener as a definite recommended by.
Actually, that's recently published book, and it's already translated into Arabic, into Russian, and the translation into Turkish and so forth. It's actually gone up fairly well, and the reason is simple. It's about how to think and act in challenging situations.
Excellent.
And that's quite important, because thinking in the face of a challenge, learning how to learn lessons and become stronger with every experience is very critical for every leader.
Becoming a reflexive.
Is not getting simpler.
Yeah.
We'll face more and more challenges. We'll face more and more changes. If we can't be stronger than those changes, to face a storm, I must be stronger than that storm.
Sure. Absolutely, and have self-belief that you will prevail. But are you writing anything at the moment? Are you on to your next?
Look, I wrote 6 books. I have ideas for a couple of more books, but I need to have a chance to breathe out. Otherwise, I will be just a writer, but I'm a solution finder, a solution provider.
Sure. Excellent. Yeah. Look, Oleg, thank you so much for taking your precious time to talk to me on the Handshake. And well, please God, we'll have an opportunity to chat again down the line. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you.